separation addresses the legal consequences of terminating any relationship that is regulated by the South African law. The author of the book, Bertus Preller, joins us from our Cape Town studios to tell us more. Bertus, welcome to Morning Live. Good to have you on the program.
Thank you. Good morning.
All right, a book like this, I mean, even I must admit, when I got it, it landed on my lap on Friday and I had a look at this. I did get a bit of a fright as well. I was like, really? There's a book about divorce and separation? What made you want to put something like this together?
Well, I couldn't hear it there.
Bertus, can you hear me?
Now I can hear you.
All right, good. Let me ask the question again, just in terms of your idea of writing a book like this. Where did it all come from?
Well, I think, what I'm trying to explain is the intricacies of the law in layman's terms to the general public, because there's never been a book written on that subject specifically for the public. But, if you look at the book and you read the book, it's really not only for people that want to divorce or want to separate, as it deals with a number of other issues as well, like abuse and maintenance and so forth.
Yeah, I can't imagine it's a book you'd want to go and buy without your partner knowing that this is your intention. Or is this the idea, is to sort of educate people around, I suppose, what you're able to do in the situation of having divorce or being separated, or what your rights are?
Definitely. I think, it's more educational thing than anything else. As a family lawyer, you often see that, people, when they get married, for example, focus so much on the wedding, but not really on the consequences in the unlikely event of a divorce. And many times I sit with clients that is, for example, married out of community of property without any form of accrual, and then they actually have no claim with regard to the patrimonial consequences of the divorce. Yeah. And it's simply because they haven't known, from the stance or from the start, exactly what they're letting themselves in for.
So are you saying that you would actually recommend somebody read a book like this before you even enter into a marriage?
Definitely, I think so. It actually teaches you the matrimonial regimes in our country, being in community of property, out of community of property, with or without the accrual. So it teaches people about antenuptial contracts as well, and the consequences of entering into that.
Yeah. Look, I understand what you're saying, and I think it is vitally important that you as an individual know what your rights are, because a lot of people do not know their rights. I mean, something very interesting that you also touch on, and I think this is a very topical issue, is an unmarried father's right to his children. And that's something that you look at as well. I mean, that doesn't necessarily pertain to divorce or separation, and yet that's discussed in your book.
Definitely. I think a big portion of the book is written around, parental rights and responsibilities. And, it is so that a solid society is built on healthy family relationships. And it's so important for parents to know that a child needs both parents in their lives. And unfortunately, you see a lot in divorces and separations that children are becoming tokens in this fight. Another point I'm making in the book is that, our whole legal system, the adversarial process, doesn't suit family disputes. And, although there's all these emotions involved, people should really try, when they, in the unlikely event of a separation, should really focus on the children and trying to resolve those disputes in an amicable way.
Yeah. I mean, you also, I like the way you take a very big stance and look at children. I mean, you talk about child maintenance and support that'll likely be required, how to file for maintenance and child support. So it's really an advice book more than anything else. I suppose it's a go-to book when you don't have, I suppose, the means to get to a lawyer as yet. Is that the intention as well, is to help people understand the law before approaching a lawyer?
Definitely. I mean, I think you can cut away quite a lot of time by reading the book and then sitting in a lawyer's office and then pay, obviously consultation fees. So it really educates people as to their rights in, all aspects of family law, whether from abuse to maintenance, and then, right through until It also deals with cohabitation, obviously people that don't get married, that live together and then separate, and what their rights are.
Yeah. You know, another issue that you deal with, and I think it's vitally important these days, is same-sex marriages. And
Correct, yes.
same-sex partnerships, I imagine. I mean, is it pretty much so the same, a different set of rules, or does it fall under the same set of rules as well?
You know, obviously, in a same-sex relationship, those marriages are governed in terms of the Civil Union Act. So, you know, they, in terms of our law, they would, the same law would apply in the sense of when those relationships are, you know, separated. So the patrimonial consequences, you know, how parties are married and so forth, they all play a role, and is more or less the same in a normal marriage, unless, of course, the people or the partners in those partnerships don't get married.
All right. Now, we're running out of time, but is it true to say that South Africans, the status of marriages in South Africa is that every 1 in 3 marriages ends in divorce?
Well, unfortunately, that seems to be the case. You know, and lastly, I mean, that first 10 years of a marriage is sort of the, you know, the danger zone, I would say.
Wow. Okay, that's frightening. So I suppose a book like this, unfortunately, is very, very needed. I mean, you're a lawyer, an attorney focusing on family and divorce law. Have you seen over the years that it's becoming more and more frequent that people are coming to you for this?
Definitely,
Is
definitely. But I think there's sort of a shift at the moment, I think, amongst lawyers to become more collaborative and not adversarial when these relationships are terminated.
Yeah.
You know, it's not a matter of winners and losers, but I think lawyers in general also need to realize that people, especially where there's children involved, although the spousal role ends, that parental role continues, and the more conflict you instill during the process, the more difficult it is for the parents to get along later.
All right, let's leave it there. If you want more, it's in bookstores around the country, that's correct, on sale everywhere?
That's correct, yes.
All right, good. Bertus Preller, the author of this book, Everyone's Guide to Divorce and Separation. It's countrywide, it's in stores. If you would like to read it and you'd like to get yourself a copy, go to any reputable bookstore and you'll be able to. All right, let's take a